bought these lights probably, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. We put them out for Christmas all the time because they're like fire, you know. For our next adventure, on this day, December 23rd, 2025, we'll be going somewhere that we were hoping we would never have to visit. Sorry if my hand shakes a little bit, but we're going to get into a lot of personal history with a man who took us to places that we would probably never be able to visit in our lifetime. He treated us like as if we were equals, if we were friends. And as a creator, he treated me as just that, a talented person. But we're going to talk about all that. We're going to get into a little bit. We're going to go for a walk. We're going to do all that. And I'm asking you, of course, to join me. Shall you? Welcome, everyone. My name's Al. I'm the creator and the owner of Valacor Multimedia in Central Florida. And I knew Adam. I knew Adam well. He was somebody who was very, very special to me. And I'm going to try to keep it together. I've been trying to keep it together all day today, at work, and everything else like that. And I really wanted to say a few words, and I wanted to reminisce and celebrate the life of someone who not only influenced me, but out of the numerous times that I bumped into him in the parks, the numerous times that I've talked with him, he always said to keep going. And that's exactly what we're going to do. How you doing, Disney Baker? I see the robe is here. It's nice to see you, buddy. Fizzle Whizzle, how you doing? I'm Carrie. How are you, Carrie? It's good to see you too. It's good to see all of you. I wanted to take some time. I wanted to take a walk. I don't know how the lighting's going to be because we're going by street lamps. But I remember a lot of vlogs that Adam would do where he'd just go for a walk. And he'd always complain about the lighting, and he'd always complain about other stuff all the time. But I wanted to take some time and talk about my history with this man. I think it was back in 2016, all the way back in 2016. Before I even started a YouTube channel, before I did anything like that, I was trying to, I wasn't trying, I was part of a huge photography movement down here where we took on-stage photography for bands, which we're going to start doing again soon. But I was I was trying to get into the movie business type deal. I was trying to get into the higher stakes of photography, and never really cared for YouTube. I always thought YouTube was just a mediocre place for people who didn't have anything. No, you know, what I mean by anything by, I mean like, you know, no equipment, no knowledge of movie making or videography, if you will. They were just, you know, regular people putting stuff out, and I wanted to do bigger stuff. But I started watching YouTube, you know, and I came across a couple of people. And one of those people were Adam the Woo. I was intrigued by what he was doing, because when I came into his style, if you will, I'm gonna get back over here into the light. But as you know, what I came into his style was to go into these abandoned places and, you know, be checking them out and everything. And to be honest with you, at first I thought Adam was a paranormal channel. Adam the Woo. I thought Woo was like, woo, you know, like scary ghosts. And I thought he was a ghost hunter for a short time, until I started watching his videos and started to realize that no, this is just a guy who's going into abandoned places and going into, you know, shut down and old raggedy places and just checking them out and just exploring. And then he started going to Disney. And we all remember the now infamous river country videos, and the old train, the old track and the old train of Fort Wilderness. And I was like, this man's taking us places beyond, places that we could never ever visit. And I respected him for that. And that's what made me start to say, you know, maybe this YouTube thing ain't so bad. Maybe it gives you a way to create and do things for people, you know? Bring people to places they probably will never be able to visit, or come up with subjects, you know? And so, watching him, and of course finding Justin Scarred through him, and many other YouTubers from way back in the day when YouTube was just a baby. And I just thought to myself, you know, maybe this YouTube thing is different than what I was expecting it to be. And Adam showed me that. And then he got banned from Disney and from Universal and everything. And he packed up the van and he was like, I'm going cross country. And he ends up in California, and I'm figuring, that sucks. I'm never going to meet him, you know? I'm never going to meet him. I'm never going to say hi to him. I'm never going to, you know, I've met so many rock stars and movie stars and stuff like that. But I really wanted to meet Adam the Woo. I wanted to meet Adam the Woo, and I really wanted to meet Justin Scarred. Because those are the people who brought me into the world of YouTube. And I started to think to myself that maybe I could do it. Since I have so much somewhat knowledge of cinematography and photography and everything, maybe I could make some really cool videos. So I got with my brother. We started talking about what we could do, and we came up with Disney Weirdos at first, which I still don't like, Rob. I really don't like that name. I just don't like that name. But I wanted to change it. We went to Florida Freaks. And stick with me. there's a method to my madness of why I'm telling you this story. But we came up with Florida Freaks, and I got with Aaron. I see you, Aaron. It's nice to see you, sweetheart. And Aaron wanted to do the same thing I was doing, and we got together and we just started pumping out videos and all that kind of thing. And then Aaron met Justin Scard, actually had Justin Scard come to her house. I thought that was pretty cool. But I wanted to do stuff, and we went to the parks and we did our other stuff, and we followed in the footsteps of Adam the Woo. We followed in the footsteps of Justin and Tim Tracker. All the guys who put this together, who knew what they were doing. And which I had the utmost respect for, of course. And as we moved on, the first time I ever met Adam was he came down here and he was shooting May the 4th Be With You at Hollywood Studios. And my neighbor's coming home. But yeah, that's when I first met him. I saw him there with Jackie, super enthused, you may have heard of her. Tampa J and Micah. They were all hanging out, and I walked up to, I was with Gonzo. At the time, me and Gonzo were doing the May the 4th videos. And I said, hey, Gonzo, that's Adam the Woo. He said, yeah, you should go talk to him. I was like, yeah, I should. He was, it's the reason why I'm got a camera and I'm standing in the middle of Hollywood Studios is because of this man right here. So I need to go talk to him. I wonder how he will be, you know. I wonder if he'll be, you know, happy to see me, or if he'll just, you know, kind of be like, oh yeah, hey, how you doing? And then just walk off. But he was none of the above. I walked over to him and I looked at him and he looked at me and he said, before I could say anything to him, he said to me, hey, it's the Florida Freaks guy. And that's when I was like, he's seen my channel. This man, who I started watching YouTube with, the first person to ever say, hey, watch this. I'm going to show you something interesting. I'm going to show you how this stuff works. I'm going to take you places. He was watching my channel. He watched at least a video. He knew who I was before I could even say a word to him. You know, I thought about telling this story over and over again. And every time I told it to myself all day long today, I was fine. I was like, yeah, you know, I want to tell this story. I want to talk about it, you know. And it's just now that I am saying it, it's really catching up with me. But because I'm kind of like putting myself in the place that I was when that happened, and the feeling I got when this man who towered over me, because he was like 9 feet tall, he knew who I was. And I was nobody. I probably had like 600, 700 subscribers at the time. I was nothing. I was new. And he's just like, hey, it's the Florida Freaks guy. And I was like, yeah, that's me. How you doing? And he's like, I'm doing all right, Al. How are you doing? And I said, I'm doing good. And he said, yeah, you here for May the 4th, obviously. And I said, yeah. And same with you guys, huh? And he said, yeah. And something was going on. They were waiting on something. And he kind of just stood there with me, and he's like asking me questions. He said, so do you live around here? You live close by, right? And I said, yeah, I live about a city over, you know. At the time, I lived in Point Siena, Florida. And he's like, yeah, I know where that is. He's like, I grew up in St. Cloud. And I said, yeah, I know. But I didn't want to come off as a fan, you know. I wanted to, I never do whenever I meet someone who has a lot of following behind them or reach, you know. I never really come off as a fan. I never did with any artists or anything like that I've ever shot and got the pleasure of being in the green room or backstage or side stage with and got to talk with. And, you know, I always came off professional. I always wanted to come off professional and not be like, oh, yeah, I've been following you since this, that, and the other thing. But looking back now, I really wish I did tell him that at that time. I ended up telling him it later, and we'll get to that. But yeah, he was asking me questions like that, and he was saying, well, you know, if you're ever around, I don't really make plans. He said, but if we bump into each other, you know, we could do some stuff together. And I said, I'd really like that, Adam. And I said, well, I'm here with my friend Gonzo. We're going to continue doing our thing, and you continue doing your thing, and I'll catch you up later. And he said, yeah, I hope so, man. It was good meeting you. It's good finally meeting you. And I was like, it's good finally meeting you, too. And I was so happy. And it was just such an awesome day, and I'll never forget that day. And the day Adam the Woo knew me, and I knew everything about him. A couple years went by, and I was in Epcot. I was crossing between nations, you know, and so was he. And he walked past me, and he's like, Al, hey, buddy. I was like, hey, Adam, what's up, man? I didn't even realize that he was there. Like, it was just like, I just looked, you know, I looked up from, like, looking at my camera while I'm walking, you know, and I hear, hey, Al, and I look up, and it's Adam the Woo, and he's just like, hey, what's up, buddy? And I'm like, what's up? And he's like, you're filming, huh? That's good. I said, yeah. And he said, what you shooting? And I said, just some new construction stuff. He said, cool. He said, well, I'll be around. I'm here by myself, so, you know, I'll see you around it. And I made the joke that I always make to everybody. I said, hey, it's a small world after all, right? And he liked that. And he went on his way, and I went on my way. And then a couple years after that, you know, during the span of meeting him then and then meeting him on this next occasion, I had the pleasure of meeting Justin Scard at Hollywood Studios. That was really cool. And of course, I knew Micah. I met up with Micah a couple of times. The World of Micah. Great channel, great guy, love him to death. Anyway. And of course, I knew Super Enthused. We were all starting out at the same time, pretty much. She had a little bit of advance on me, but she lived hours away, and she always had to take trips to Disney. Way back in the day, in the beginning. and of course Gonzo and Tampa J and everybody, and the Carpetbagger. I had the pleasure of meeting all of them, and Nate. You might know him as Tom Morrow, Mr. Tom Morrow. I loved every single one of those guys. They were great. I was always looking for Adam. Every time I went to the theme parks, I was always like, maybe I'll bump into Adam. Maybe he's down from California. And then the last splash came. And that was the last splash of Splash Mountain. All of us went out there. It's like you couldn't walk 10 feet without bumping into a YouTuber. And I was live streaming, and and I saw Adam, and Adam saw me, and he was like, hey, Ellie. And I was like, hey, Adam, what's up, And Adam the Woo, did that whole thing with him. And he was waiting on Justin Scard to show up. Justin was taking a car from the airport or something like that. And we kind of sat outside of Splash Mountain. And he was like, look at this, man. He's like, I can't believe they're taking it away. And I said, yeah, I know. He said, there's a lot of memories on this ride, I was like, yeah, I know. Same here, And he said, so how are you going to capture it? And I said, I think I'm going to live stream it. And he said, don't do that. Don't do that. And I said, why? He said, because the animatronics in the ride run off the same Wi-Fi feed that your live stream is going to be running off of. And it's going to interfere with your live stream, and it's probably going to cut it out a whole bunch of times. That's why people, back in the day, we couldn't really ride rides all the way through. The live stream would always cut out, and I'm pretty sure it's still the same way, but I'm not sure because I've been out of the game for quite a while now. But we'll find out next year. But yeah, he told me that, and I said, well, what do you think I should do then? He said, you should shoot it, film it, edit it, make it into something. This is going to be a landmark occasion. You need to do that. I recommend you do that. And I said, okay, I will. And I said, I got to go back to my car though, because I left the G7X in there. And he's like, oh yeah, got to go get that. And I said, yeah, I will in a minute. And he said, yeah, you should do that. And I said, well, you want to ride the ride? And he said, I'm kind of waiting for Justin to get here. I said, oh, okay. And he said, I already been on like 6 times anyway. I was like, yeah. I was like, it's okay, man. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I ran out to the car, and I got the G7X, and I came back, and I rode the ride, and I made the video. And I came back out. And then there was him and Justin, and I walked up to them, and I got the picture that I always put up on social media. It's the only picture I ever took with me and Justin and Adam together, and it was the only picture that I ever took with Adam. Because, like I said, I'm not a fanboy. I don't say, hey, let me take a selfie with you. It's not one of my things. I never take selfies with other people. I just don't do it. It was one of my things. I always thought of it as it's too much being a fan, I really wish I did though now. But that's the thing about Adam the Woo. Adam would always tell you, he tried to teach you when you hung out with him. I don't know if anybody else experienced that, but it's like every time I bumped into him and every time I met up with him, he always had like a little bit of advice to give. He wasn't afraid to just tell you, hey, when you hold the camera, make sure, when you hold the phone, when you're doing a live stream, make sure you're not holding the bottom of the phone because you'll cover the microphone up. Little things like that stuck with me. And he stuck with me a lot. And it really hurts to see such a kind-hearted man just be taken so young, really. 51's not old to me, because I'm 46 and it's only 5 years away. I just started watching his videos more often than usual because he was visiting Rome and visiting the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and the room he got. I sent him a message on Instagram saying, that room you got where you're just looking through your window and you see the Tower of Pisa right outside your window. I said, that's amazing, man. I don't know how you got that room, but that's incredible. And I said, just keep it up. You're doing great. Like, I love these videos. This is what I wanted you to do for a long time. Because if you've been watching Adam the Woo, if you know Adam the Woo and his channel well, you know he never really got to go out of the United States. He always stayed in the States. But he always talked about how he wanted to travel abroad. You know, of course, bringing a piping hot caffeinated beverage with him everywhere he went. But he's one of those guys that just that changed your life, you know what I mean? In ways that you didn't even see coming. Wasn't planned. You know? It was just the spur of the moment. And the little times that you did have the pleasure of being in his presence, he always left a mark on you. Being a part of the Woovians, every day you'd see somebody from somewhere post a picture of them standing with Adam. Or they'd take a picture of him from far away because they didn't want to bother him while he was working. A lot of people used to say that too. I felt that way too a couple of times. I have seen Adam in the wilderness and just said, no, I don't want to bother, you know. He lived in Celebration, which is like literally 15 minutes from me. And the Robe would always say, you know, go down to Celebration, man. Go meet up with Adam. Go bump into him. He's always down there. He's always walking around. Go say something. Go talk to him. You know him. Go say hi. Go do a video with him. All that kind of stuff. And the Robe will vouch for me. I always just say, I just don't want to bother him. I don't want to bother him. You know? I just don't want to bother. But that's the funny part of the whole thing is that I wouldn't have been bothered. He loved to see people. He loved to talk to people. He was never annoyed by someone walking up to him and saying hi. You know? But I was hoping that 2026 coming around with me, you know, going through a few things, which this isn't about me, but I wanted to restart everything back up again, which I am. I wanted to, you know, start putting blogs out again. I wanted to start working on the company and all that, and I really wanted to meet up with Adam and say, hey, look, you know, this is what I got going on. What do you think? You know, get feedback from him. But He's just going to be watching over now, so that's good. I want to go to you guys real quick. I wanted to tell the story of how I came into his life, how he came into my life, and touched by just speaking. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. His vlogs were not some big performance. And that's the takeaway we really need to, as fellow creators, we need to take that and grasp that he just made videos. He said what was on his mind at the time of that day. And he let the day go by with whatever was going to happen. No plans, just one main purpose. I'm going to Magic Kingdom today. That's it. And he'd go to Magic Kingdom, and whatever's going on, that would be the video. And that's the way, in the beginning, that was a vlog. A vlog wasn't planned. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't put together. It wasn't edited. It's just a vlog. It's just something where you just turn the camera on and start talking. And that's all he ever did. And it was welcoming. And you knew that something was going to be cool. He was going to show you something cool. And if he didn't show you something cool, he was going to talk about something that hit home. Maybe not at the same time, but sometime in our lives. He'd say something. He'd talk about a subject that we would sit there and listen to him talk and say, yeah, I relate to that. He related to us so much, you know? So I get that. Select Covert said, why are you crying? I'm not crying. But I have shed a couple of tears today, I will not lie. He was a good friend, you know? And you know, there's people out there that have never met him ever in their entire life, never even walked on the same ground as him, but yet they know him by watching his vlogs. And they're probably crying too. And they never even met him. But I understand completely on that. Especially a fellow YouTuber, Rob says, yeah. Yeah, Adam is no more. As far as I know, he passed peacefully. As far as I know. He was in his bed, which yeah. It's unfortunate, but at least it wasn't worse. You know? And I'm just going to leave it at that. Only body could die, soul is immortal. Absolutely. I completely agree with you. I believe our souls are the imprints that we leave on this earth. Some of us do it by video, by pictures, by memories, by statements, by accomplishments. You know, the body leaves, but the soul remains. And I believe that's the memory of who you were, you know. I completely agree with that. It's okay to cry and be sad. It is. It is, man. Sometimes you got to show your feelings. And I agree with you on that. You know, if you can't cry, then the friendship is also no more, right? And always keep the memory. There's something I was thinking about. And if you're watching this at a later time, or if you're watching it right now, I think there's something we should do. You know? I think he deserves it. I think we should dedicate a day. Not make it a national holiday or anything like that, but make it a YouTube holiday. Between creators. Something we can all agree on. A woo day, if you will. A day for Adam. He gets his own special holiday. And we can all celebrate it however we want. We can make a video. We can put a post up. But I think that's something that all of us should come together on and think about. And possibly make an Adam the Woo Day. Or just call it Woo Day. Anybody who knows will know what that is. I don't want to be the ambassador of that, but I'm just throwing the idea out. And I think if we come together as a collective, we could figure out what day that would be. Whether it be his birthday, or whether it be December 21st, I think. 22nd. I heard about it last night. But what do you guys think? You think that would be good? I think that would probably be a good thing. I think he would like that, to be honored that way. Grim is, he came up behind me and he touched my leg, and I'm like, Adam? You know? For a minute. Don't do that, Grim. Jeez. Scary ass black cat. Anyway. I think it would probably be a good idea. But yeah, I just wanted to take some time to celebrate what he meant in my life, and what he meant to this channel, and what he meant to me, and a lot of people that I know. Adam the Woo was the YouTuber. Whenever I used to get together with all the other YouTubers at Disney and everything, you know, we all used to talk about Adam as if he was like the godfather of YouTube. You know, you can't be an Adam Woo. There's only one Adam Woo. You know? That's because he was, right? But he'll be missed. He'll be really, really missed. He's on the biggest adventure that we've ever taken. And we'll all take that same adventure soon. Well, not soon, but I mean, you know, sooner or later, should I say. That sounds better. But yeah, I agree, Aaron. We have to live his legacy. The one thing that Adam told me and told many others, one thing he used to say. And if you ever spoke with him, he's probably said it to you. And that one thing that he used to always say is, keep going. There's something that he told me at the Splash Mountain event that I'll never forget, because I was at a time where I thought I was being pushed aside on YouTube, and he knew it. And he said, Al, he said, don't pay attention to all these other people. You keep making content. You make good videos. And I said, thanks, Adam. I will. And he said, I'm serious. And he said, keep going. Keep going. He said that there's been a lot of times that I wanted to quit this. And he said, but every day I'd get back up and say, I gotta keep going. And I made a joke with him when he said that, and I said, yeah, well, living out of a van would make you want to quit. And he said, you have no idea. But he was great. He will be missed. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I don't know about all of you, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. Come January, I'm selling my house. Me and the kids are going to move on to the next chapter. And we're going to do what he told me to do. You know? We're going to keep going. And I hope you guys do too. Don't think of this as an ending. Think of it as the beginning of the next great adventure. Selective Covert is coming in with a very powerful statement. Adam may have got next life or next birth in another body. Who knows? Maybe that's what happens. I'm a religious man. Quite recently, I've gotten more and more religious. So I'd like to think that, you know, he was welcomed in with open arms into a paradise that we call heaven. But, you know, we don't know what happens once we cross that threshold, so quite possibly he was very special to all of us, and he was very special to me. He was the only person that I knew in YouTube, in this content creator society that we live in now. He was the only one that always looked at me and made me feel as if I belonged, as if I was a part of this, as if I was talented in any way, shape, or form. He never had a derogatory word to say to me. He never did. And for that, I say thank you, Adam. Thank you for creating everything you've created for us, taking us places that we would, like I said in the beginning of this live stream, we would never be able to visit ourselves. He brought us along on the adventure. He tried new things. He welcomed other people into his life and showed them off. He celebrated us. He celebrated us. And I think that's what we need to do for him. We need to celebrate him. And that is exactly what's going on right now. If you haven't touched the internet at all, it's everywhere. You know? Very kind, loving man that didn't want nothing from you. He even shut down his shop because he didn't want to take your money. Remember that? Remember that? He had t-shirts and he shut the shop down because he just didn't want to take your money anymore. He just wanted you to show up. It's all right, man. I'm probably going to do the same in just a minute. No, I'm just kidding. I got to work tomorrow, unfortunately. But and this weekend I may partake and salute properly. Raise a glass, even though he didn't drink. But he was a great man, and I had the pleasure of having him in my life. And I'm going to do what he told me to do. Like I said, I'm just going to keep going. And I hope all of you will too. And come next year, if anybody sees me and you want to create something, you want to put your imprint on YouTube, you want me to help you out, I will. Follow in the footsteps of a legendary man. I'm going to be more like Adam. I think we all have to be. I hope that's not copyrighted. Sir, I'm trying to do a live stream here. Sorry. I always say that. Yeah. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a little bit. If you guys got any stories you want to tell, pick up a camera. Pick up a cell phone. Tell your story. And if nobody watches, who cares? There's another thing that Adam told me a long time ago, too. He said you could either make videos for the people or you could make videos for yourself. Something you could look back on years from now and say, I did that. Or I said that. Or I was there. I added that last part in, but yeah. But yeah, I agree with him. This platform isn't made for people to become famous. It isn't. I know it's turned into that. People to get rich, monetized, ad revenue, all that crap. Numbers. Not in the beginning, though. YouTube was a place that you could put your memories somewhere that you could always go back to just by typing in a couple of letters. And that's exactly what I've been doing the past couple of hours before this live stream. I was typing in a couple of letters. A-D-A-M. and I watched a couple of videos from a couple other people's channels and even my own on the one or two videos that I had Adam on. And I'm glad that we all have this in our lives because it's something that brought us all together. So, you know, I think I'm going to bow out now. I tried to hold it together as long as I could. And gotta be a man. Adam was great. Was a great soul, although I'm from Dubai. I've never seen him. Oh, you're from Dubai? Oh, nice. Dubai. I've always wanted to visit Dubai. I bet a bunch of my friends go visit Dubai. Always wanted to visit there. Maybe I'll go on a great adventure one day. And man, that would be an adventure. But for right now, we're gonna get back to what's real and start doing some really cool stuff. But once again, thank you, Adam. Thank you for devoting your life to showing us what's going on in it. We're all gonna miss you. As for us, though, we'll be right here. We're gonna keep going. The vlog or the live stream is over. Good night, everyone.